we've got ourselves together. Thought it would be a great opportunity as part of our Coliance Connect series, maybe the Movember edition, given the way some of us look today. But yeah, we want to chat about something we're about to launch in 2026. So we've brought along the two Chris's, Chris Thorpe, Chris Johnson, along with Stuart Power, our MD. We're going to talk about a solution called Cosmos. But before we get into that, we want to just talk about our IBM journey and why we're doing this. So building solutions is pretty important for us, because over the last couple of years we've built solutions specifically for the integration space. And what that means for us as a partner and for IBM is that we're building embedded solutions with their technology, which delivers value to customers from a service perspective. So today we thought, let's talk about some new solutions, get some thoughts, quite an organic conversation. So yeah, with that in mind, I mean, Stuart, I'm going to turn to you first, just so we can get a feel for why you want to build more solutions and what it means for you as MD.
Ultimately, kind of first things first for people that aren't aware of Coliance. Coliance have been an IBM partner for about 16 years now. We've been in business for over 24 years, and we've very much come from the integration background, focused on a number of IBM technologies such as Sterling, such as File Gateway, Connect Direct, manage file transfer, secure proxy, and then MQ, ACE, Cloud Pak for integration, and latterly kind of web methods. And I guess the highlighted point there is that we've been around for a while. We're the trusted experts for people globally when it comes to integrating their most complex and mission critical systems. Um, But as I've just described, it's quite a complex world. That's just the IBM portfolio. There's a much wider portfolio of systems, warehouse management systems, ERP systems, finance systems, that people ask us to integrate their most complex systems with their most complex partners, trusted suppliers, etc., etc. And equally, and another huge point there is the seasonal demand, and the ones and twos, integrations and connections that you need to make with people just to do business. Um, so it's kind of, we need to get this partner, this trading supplier onboarded quickly so that we can do business. Um, how do we do that integrated to our most complex systems and processes with people that have, you know, possibly long gone and departed since they set up those systems? So, I guess the highlight there is that we're the experts, we're trusted in this, but it's such a complicated world, and so I challenged the guys on, can we build more, um, that can reduce the complexity, and we've been looking at that across a number of different solutions. Um, I'll name them briefly, but we have Agora, which is a managed service for EDI. We have Avra, which is a payload synchronization technology. We have Opsys, which is a business process monitoring visibility tool. Um, and now we have Cosmos. And I'll let the guys go into what Cosmos is in a bit more detail, but it's about connecting people and systems as easy as possible.
I think it's good, and look, and this is the chance to talk sort of openly about it. I mean, from Chris and Chris's perspective. Um, yeah, let's get into it. Really, I mean, why Cosmos on top of what Stuart said?
think I think one thing we've got to remember is that we've been doing this as a company for 25 years, and some of us longer than that. The this EDI and integration and managed file transfer is uh, relatively old technology. Well, relatively, it's old technology. but it tends to be there in the background. Everybody needs to have it, but a lot of people forget about it. It's plumbing, sometimes described as plumbing, but we've been doing this a long time, and I think what we wanted to try and do um, was fill the gaps, because there's a load of um, parts to EDI that are pain points to a lot of customers. Things like onboarding. How do we get those difficult to onboard customers using a EDI like technology? It's one of the biggest pain points. The 80/20 rules all over the place. It's like 8% of your partners are, sorry, 80% of your business is through 20% of your partners. The 20% are relatively easy. The other 80% are hard, but it's only 20% of the revenue. So you haven't necessarily got the big budget to get those through. So if we can do that as easily as possible, as slickly as possible, I made up a new word there. But just trying to get everything, getting tools and tricks and tips into a product as best we can, which will then mirror the products that Stuart mentioned. Agora mainly as our managed service. If we can get people onboarded quicker, and onboard them when perhaps before it's been difficult, or just taking something that's typically weeks and weeks of effort into days or even hours, and that's the target for Cosmos.
I, I actually made a list earlier of the problems that we're solving. So yeah, perhaps I'll just read some of them off, and they might resonate with people. So yeah, obviously whether it's electronic or physical, every integration faces the same challenges. Misaligned message standards and protocols, as Chris just alluded to. Inconsistent data formats and incomplete documentation is the bane of everyone's life. The differences in interpretation and implementation across teams. So, as I described earlier, as people buy a system, over the course of the life of that system, people change, businesses change, mergers, acquisitions happen, and complexity gets added to those interpretations or their implementations of those complex systems. Obviously, you've got the ever-growing storage and infrastructure costs that everyone's trying to reduce. Um, Disparate technology stacks, which again comes from someone coming in going, I need this, and then someone else coming in and going, I don't like that, I need this. And over the time, you build a multitude of different technology systems. Um, Obviously, that comes with a variation in experience and expertise. With again, people, this is the hottest thing, I need to know all about it, and then this is the hottest thing, I need to know all about that, and they forgot what they know about the original system. Legacy constraints, a big one that I feel we really help with just generally as a company, but particularly with some of these solutions is regulatory and compliance overhead. So giving people the ability to know what they're doing, what's happening, prove it, and be able to record it and audit, what they've done, when and how. Um, Performance unpredictability in real workloads. So just because the system or the let's use a phrase, just because the computer says no, doesn't mean that it does mean no. It can mean it's said yes and then it's got stuck somewhere else outside of the system. And clearly, I've already mentioned, but that lack of visibility and context and control means that people start to lose trust and faith in the systems, and that's when they go, oh, it's the system, let's buy a new system, and then they're just adding to the problem of legacy tech. But yeah, I don't know if there's any others that you guys can think of, but yeah, that they would be the ones that I feel like we, as a business solve, but that we're trying to solve more with Cosmos.
Yeah. It's probably worth going through those points, fairly. I mean, there's a few that can be bulked into one, but that might be one for, good question for Chris. Really, it's just how we looked at with Cosmos, how we looked at misaligned standards and inconsistent data and differences in interpretation. Um, how have we tackled that with Cosmos?
Well, one of the kind of the ways that I really approached this was I'm brand new. I've not really used this technology before. I haven't got a clue what it looks like, what it means, um, and so I kind of started to put down. This is all of the various systems that we have in place. These are all the different message formats that there are. Okay, and I mean, what does that really mean? Um, and so it was really a case of if the customer says, right, I've got to go in and send in a message for something. I don't know how it looks. I don't know how to test it. And so I started putting a collection of those together. And then it kind of sort of grew into this solution where we can allow you to build up any message format, whether it be Edifact, Tradercoms, X12, whatever, and then connect into a partner and have all the tools to do so. But having the tools was the hard bit because the customer doesn't know what they need and what order they need to do things. And so that was kind of one of the ways we approached this was, we put together this great workflow of how to come in and test what your message should look like, where your data actually resides in, and how you can find it. And we kind of just moved on from there. There was so much that we packed into this. It's difficult to even remember all of the things that we've packed in there. But if we were to kind of just start at the very, very beginning of the journey, a customer doesn't even have their own big IT. They're a new customer, kind of starting off with a supplier, and they've got to start integrating. Now the supplier is using some legacy tools and some legacy message formats that nobody really knows, and they certainly don't teach anymore. And so, you've got this new supplier. He's or your customer. He's sitting there going, "What is EDI? I don't even know how I'm supposed to make and what's in Edifact message." And so we allowed them a portal to be able to see that, so they can instantly through the portal start interacting and make any of the performance changes they need to do, or reply to this purchase order, dispatch it, here's the invoice. All of that's baked in. And of course you think, well, okay, what's the business process you're going through for that? So we gave them all the business processes for like every sector that we could think of, and we just packed in hundreds of different business processes that they can not only use but edit. And we gave them a full editor for BPMN version 2, of course, that they can even make their own. So that was pretty cool. But then when they've got to send their messages in and they've got to actually talk to customer X, supplier Y, in these very old formats, and they're thinking, well, hang on a minute, look, I've got my IIT now, and I don't want to use this portal anymore. I want to grow and have this automated, have these transactions that they come in and reduce my manual work, my manual effort here. They need to know, well, what does the message look like? Okay, you're doing a purchase order for this customer. This is the exact message format that they expect. And as they start to build up what that message looks like, well, we validate the message for them every time they want to test it. And they go, okay, does this work? No, this doesn't work because this field isn't correct. You need to put a different value here because it means, this is the date time of dispatching the order instead of the date time of, receiving it or things like that. And so we help to guide them as to exactly what the message looks like and what they've got to put in there. So not just the strict format, but the specific data that is needed to actually make that work. But moving on from that, okay, great, fine. I've got this message. I kind of know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm kind of new. I've built this message and I've got no test data. What test data do I need? They don't know. You can't expect somebody new to know this. So we bundled in a whole set of test data as well, so they can test any of these processes with test data that supports it, so they can walk through the entire length of not just this individual message, but the entire business process from start to finish, which should give them great confidence that when they've said, right, I'm going to now have my invoices automated. And they will say, right, I'm going to switch on the automation for this. We've defined our message, we've tested it. They'll have good confidence that it will work with the target system. So, customer X or whoever that may be. When it came to different message formats and all of the different messages, the types that's out there, etc., we have all of these ready for you. They're industry standards. Quite difficult to find something from 40, 50 years ago, but we got them all here, and so you're able to just use them straight away. But there's a whole validator there to help walk you through them. It explains step by step what each part of the message actually means, how you fill it in. And so when you're then wanting to send this data in a sort of an automated way, you will see it flowing through the system. We will actually be able to show you step by step, hey, this is how far through you are the business process. This is where the message currently is. So it's with this other person, or it's on its way back. You've raised the invoice, but you haven't actually done something you needed to, and there's a credit note that's come in now because something was damaged. You need to raise this. We kind of have all this in place for you, so you can literally just walk through the whole lot. And it's packed with so many different tools that you could need, from I don't know what I'm doing to, oh yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing. I need to do this and this, this and this, and it's all done, including the workflow. So we literally put a workflow in that says this is your beginning, and this is exactly the first step you need to take. And once you're happy with it and you defined it and you're quite happy with the validation, you can move on to the next step, so on and so forth. And of course, we're always there to, pick up the phone, give us a call, and help out as well, right? So customers can actually, going from a very, very small company, right, and you're big enough to play with these guys who've got the legacy systems, but you're kind of too small to get all of the proper technology in a big IT, department that's done this before and can walk that walk. We actually literally have that all in place for you. So that barrier to growing from small to getting to sort of the medium realm, we knock that barrier down, and build a funnel straight through it.
You've just summarised it really well, Chris. I say summarised it. You've explained it. You've explained it. I guess, yeah. In summary, that's why we've developed Cosmos to bridge that gap between the complexity, the guaranteed communication that you need to prove that you've done the task that you've committed your customer you're doing, or your supplier that you're doing, um, and to enable you to adapt and be fast enough to say yes to a customer, or yes to a provider, or yes to a supplier, yes to revenue, yes to
And in addition to that, I mean, we make sure you don't step over any sort of legislation lines, so on. So not, it's not just about IT. There are certain audit things that you need to be, we're not there as an auditor, but we'll remind you, you might need to, follow guidelines and rules in certain areas, and we can sort of help that. But also we can bridge the technology gap. So you might have a system that supports only modern standards, modern APIs, and so on. We can bridge that technology age gap of about 15 years between the old tech that Chris was just talking about, that he's been done a great job of learning over the last 6 months or less, and but also he's very much used the company's experience, the company's the legacy to help him get that way and bridge that gap to the modern API hybrid stuff that we've got today.
Clearly, yeah, Cosmos is a newly designed product by Coliance that we're launching in 2026. So it's still relatively early days for us, but we've been reviewing some kind of test customers and the kind of benefits that we're hoping that they will be able to achieve. Um, yeah, anyone want to share some of those benefits that we're expecting the customers to be able to achieve? Let's look at some of the return of investment benefits we expect customers to see. And the first one being, yeah, we believe that Cosmos is going to help to reduce your integration costs.
I think one thing we've got to cover is, and we've said it several times already, that integration, the old EDI style of integration is old, and a lot of those guys are retiring. So trying to find those expertise is difficult. I mean, we've got a pool of expertise here at Coliance, but we do maintain those. If we can have systems that can share that knowledge out and make that knowledge just as palatable and as easy as all the modern standards, relative modern standards like XML and JSON, it shouldn't matter. All these technologies are really the same. They're just, some of them have benefits over others. EDI is just extremely compact and small, because that's when it was required when you had modems and dial-ups, and really JSON and XML are just bigger standards. But the more and more data we have, we have a reminder that really it still needs to be relatively compact. So those things are still important, but it's just leveling the technology, just making technology palatable and relatively easy, and that in itself is a return on investment. You can get something done in a few days that would normally take a few weeks. That's a cost saving.
Okay, so yeah, let's look at the benefits. So we talked about reduced integration costs by, yeah, less reliance on heavily paid staff, yeah, less reliance on paying for, um, yeah, extra skills as and when you need them. Obviously, you can rely upon us. Um, but we also believe that we should be able to help with cutting your configuration time by 40 to 60% because of the knowledge that we're able to put into Cosmos that, as we've just described, understands both legacy systems and the modern configuration standards, which ultimately will help in reduced workloads and reduced errors, which is obviously a huge benefit. And we believe that this can help drive down the dynamic scaling of panic when you need to get a new provider on board or new supplier on board, and everyone starts, ramping up things to get things done. So by not doing that, we should see a saving of 25 to 30% from our findings. So one of those was obviously highlighting a kind of accelerated time to value. Anyone want to pick up kind of those new trading partners and kind of APIs and how that's going to help improve your revenues?
I think it's the way it improves revenues is, I think sometimes it's having an appetite to tackle a message. There's a lot of messages in EDI, like price lists and sales reports, that just they get sent, they get accepted, and then they either get binned at source, or they get put into Excel spreadsheets for someone to digest later. If you are getting this information, and you need this information, why not integrate that information? Because it's gone from being a month's job to maybe being a few days. Even if it just make it easier to easily palatable by just printing it off in a PDF. It might be something as simple as that, but we also smooth the way to getting it integrated into your back end and telling you that you might be missing out on this API, or or something along those lines. So having that intelligence in there is something that may not be there in Cosmos today, but that's sort of in the future roadmap, because anything that makes integration easier is on the roadmap for Cosmos.
Well, that kind of ties into one of the other things that we have in here. If you think, one of the things I'd mentioned earlier was that we have these small companies that are big enough to talk to somebody who's got EDI, but they don't have the tool right now. That EDI customer, supplier, purchaser, whoever they may be, they would normally just send their message through EDI, let the systems deal with it, job done. Small company, they haven't got that technology right now, so they can't receive it, which means that big supplier, they're picking up the phone and trying to call that person who may not be available to take the call at the time, and then have to put that order in and then go through whatever process they've got on their side, and we've got no visibility of it. Nobody knows, are they honouring it, are they actually picking the product, etc. The visibility's all gone, and you're kind of having to pick up the phone and go, hey, did you manage to get that order done? Do you know when it's coming in? It takes such a long time, and everything's kind of in the dark. But if you're going through Cosmos, that message goes through the EDI. Hey, you've not got EDI for this customer yet? Not to worry, it's straight away in the portal. The customer, whoever this may be, this small business, they've just logged in at the portal, seen their order, they're doing the acknowledgement or whatever it may be. It's instantaneous. It's there. You don't have to pick up the phone. You need to see what's happening with it. You can see the status of the order. They've acknowledged it. They're currently picking the order or whatever. That's gone from days, weeks in order to be able to get something fulfilled to you click the button and it's there. You don't get much easier than that.
Yeah, I guess that's the point, isn't it? Look, we work in a world where customers' expectations are deliver this in weeks because our customers are expecting this in weeks. And the reality is sometimes it can take months because people are busy and don't see it as priorities, and they don't actually know what they're trying to solve, or they don't know what you're asking for. And we have that situation as lots of customer service provider and managed service provider. We take that responsibility. But yeah, when we're talking months to weeks, and then now we're talking weeks to days, and with Cosmos we're talking days to hours. That's a huge gulf of benefit that customers are going to see when they're looking to onboard trading partners and get things done in hours rather than weeks. Is
And then multiples, right? If we're talking singular there in the event of a single small business trying to, but there in most cases it's going to be tens, maybe hundreds of small businesses wanting to get onto a large, well-known supplier to get their wares into the storefront or onto the shelves, right? Whatever it may be. And sorry, Stu, I'm just thinking about the proliferation of like post-COVID, where people were all of a sudden selling frames they'd made at home because that's what they were doing because they weren't working. They were either laid off and they were becoming Etsy providers or something like that. You've got so many small businesses out there with no knowledge, carnal knowledge of how to do this, but are relevant for the market, right? So
you moved us on to a good point, Rob, in terms of um, the hardest part for smaller businesses is dealing with, and they have to deal with the large businesses because that's where the footfall comes from. That's where the marketing presence comes from to sell your goods and your wares. But those monopolies
yeah,
have very stringent SLAs, and if you don't work in this format, you don't operate with us. If you don't provide this information by this time, we offboard you. So that's another huge area that we believe Cosmos can help with because of that speed, because of that visibility, and to help you kind of drive towards enhancing and meeting your SLA requirements. Am I right, guys?
Yeah, I mean, think about just-in-time processing, right? You need to have X number of different products available in your warehouse at this time, so manufacturing start on a particular item. and you've got to source those the product and all the various parts, etc., in order to make that. If three of those suppliers are, I need to pick up the phone and call them, or I need to send them an email, or heaven forbid, I need to send a fax. Yeah, your just in time is really not just in time. Your just in time is just whenever. It doesn't exist anymore.
Just.
Yeah, but you go through Cosmos and you go, I've sent this through. I know when it should be coming back. I see they've read it, they've acknowledged it, that they're doing whatever they need to do. I can plan my business because I know that my supplier is able to see what I need and deliver it when I need it. And you can even get to the point where you don't just send a request saying, hey, I need 100 units of X, right? You can also say, I'm going to send you a future order to say I'm going to need 200 units of X in 3 months' time. And you can start planning this out. This is great because it doesn't mean that all of a sudden I've got my just in time that I need to do, and I know what products I need, and it turns out, oh man, the supplier didn't know that I was going to need this much coming in, and now my work's delayed because they need to go and order some stuff to make the raw materials or whatever that I need. You're now able to help your supplier plan for your demand. And that's pretty cool because you're taking a lot of the sting out of, or you're using the guesswork is kind of disappearing. And if you know that you can meet an order 3, 4, 5 months down the line, you're now starting to be long-term planning with what are normally traditionally very small time windows that these little suppliers do because they don't have big IT, they can't plan this out, and they're relying on people picking up the phone and calling them to say, hey, can I have 20 units of X? So, yeah, it does help.
So, Chris, yeah, you're teeing them up nicely here, but that really emphasises the kind of higher partner retention, reduced customer churn, and overall customer satisfaction levels, and kind of having happy customers, having happy partners, having happy suppliers, because Cosmos has been able to provide them with better transparency, better visibility, that they can plan and forecast. Easier.
This Insights module in there, right? It can literally look at what you've got coming up, but it also, if you always get this particular order, let's say every year, around about flu season, because you need to supply X number of products to a medical delivery system, right? And all of a sudden it turns out, actually, we've also got 4 other orders that have come in at the same time. And that small supplier who's dealing with this might not realize, actually, I've not got enough stock on hand to meet this demand and this order that I would normally get because, I'm a bit ditzy and I kind of forgot. Well, the system's going to let you know, hey, don't forget to go and order this because it turns out you've only got 20 units of stock left and you will normally get your big order of 200 units that you need in a week or two's time. You need to order now so that you can satisfy that requirement. And again, I know we're talking about ordering here, but every business process that we do this on.
I think one thing we're alluding to here is that we've with Cosmos, we are bridging the gap between big business. So we can bring on a big hub customer onto Agora. We did mention Agora briefly earlier as one of our other products, but I see Agora as doing all the heavy lifting. That is the one that can do tens of thousands of messages an hour sort of processing. What Cosmos does is grease the wheels so that any messages that don't have a home to go to, rather than trying to figure it out in your back-end ERP system, we don't send that to EDI, so we have to figure out another route. We basically send it all to Agora, and anything that is not set up in Agora goes to Cosmos, goes to the portal. On the flip side, you've got we offer the process for the small suppliers. So we introduce them initially as part of those hub suppliers. Look, you can now see your orders, do your invoices, see your planning messages, your sales reports, price lists, and so on. You can see them in the portal. But then you can actually get in, buy into a small slice of that and go that next step. And so it doesn't really matter if you're big or small. There's something in Cosmos for everybody. So that's what we're trying to do. So we sort of becoming an ecosystem for the supplier to hub customer bridge. I think that's something that I'd say anything that we can do to grease those wheels.
I guess it doesn't matter if you're big or small, integration is costly. And by using Cosmos, we can streamline that, accelerate that, and guarantee that. And therefore, by doing all of those things and giving you visibility, you can reduce cost and complexity.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, and Chris Johnson, keep me honest, but it's the data and informed decisions that you can make based on what the portal has captured along the way for that forward planning as well, which I think so it meets the demands of not just the technologist that wants to use it, it's the business owners that need to go. I need to see a red, amber, green, right at speed that I'm in good shape, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's certainly one of the things that we do give there. I mean, we even we even went to the the nth degree on this. Um, so you're on a day off and you've decided to hit the golf course and knock a few around. I'm assuming I don't play golf, but you knock the ball
That's
around.
what you do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You use these metal things, and it turns out you've already in Cosmos you've set up a notification so that if you get a particular order that's I don't know X size or it's coming from one of your trusted partners who kind of needs something in a bit of an emergency, we can send it to your phone and ping you on the phone to say, hey, Bob, pop back to the office. You kind of want to log in and have a quick look at this. So you're not losing anything by the fact that you're taking a day off. The system is still there, helping to let you know if something's important, you need to deal with it, or it's all right, we can take care of this tomorrow. It's fine, right? That's some of the things that people just kind of miss. Um, but the way I kind of approach this is why? Why should people miss it? I mean, think through what not just the customer needs, but the supplier needs for how they both work together, and then give them it. Because why not?
That information, right? And then, look, we're 3/4 of an hour into our session, right? Having a chat, and we've not even mentioned the two-letter acronym, right? AI, and I guess that's powering a lot of this back end, Chris, right? With what we've decided, and it's a multitude of AI solutions that are allowing us to gain these insights. Again, is there any thoughts on that?
We basically I don't think we have used AI in the process of creating that. We're in 2025. We're not. We are going to be using every tool, but we've been very careful not to include AI in the data. So that is, a fundamental rule number one of all of the design is that AI won't touch the data unless the customer wants us to. So there will be a module in there that will allow the data or some of the metadata or some of the history, the information, the events, etc., into AI if the customer wishes us to. But that will be a separate module to allow it to consume. But basically, because of all the regulatory requirements of EDI, that we can't let any of our data leak into the AI LLM learnings. So that's something we've been very careful with in the design.
No, that's a great point.
I mean, one of the things that we do. I mean, so business insights, you kind of got two flavors of it, as you were. The ones that's very non-AI, that we can kind of think of and put in there for you to try and help you say, hey, I want to be able to see X, Y, and Z. But we absolutely do have an AI flavor to it. So if you are comfortable with your data being visible in AI, then the AI can look at it and definitely give a lot more insight into what's coming up, how it can help you to grow and to make more money, because that's, you're in business to make money. You're not here just for fun. And so, yeah, if you are quite comfortable with it, yeah, absolutely. You can put it in there and see all sorts of really cool things that do help you. It's surprising what you kind of don't think about that does help, that is relevant, but sometimes we pesky humans, we just don't see it. We don't have that luxury of being able to see everything and know everything. But because the AI can look at it and perform rather complicated analysis, that we'll kind of just go, yeah, no, I'm just going to go and pick this and put it on the shelf. The AI can really give you things that you just don't know, and yet amazingly, super beneficial and really helpful.
You can choose the AI engine specifically for your needs. So if you want to use Watson, or you've got your own in-house AI with AI API, all of that's usable. Or the the common enterprise ones are of course available, but they all work, but on request and not for no other reason.
Yeah, and one of the and I know I'm going to talk about a future piece of functionality that we are providing in Cosmos.
Hold fire, Chris. Hold fire.
Being careful. One of the things that we know that we are going to be providing there is the ability that if you want to be actually writing your own application, so you need to send data from A to B, and you want to actually design that up yourself, and then have us run it, then that's something that we are actually looking to put in place.
Watch this space then.
I
Okay.
think it's kind of a timely point to point out I didn't know what cosmos meant, and I've had to look it up. And in summary, cosmos is a Greek word for universe, um, but it also refers to it as being the universe as a whole, and viewing the universe as an ordered system. And we all know that Earth and everything on Earth is a complex world. That's the world we live in, and anything that's going to help you, yeah, put that into an ordered system is only going to help. So yeah, I thought it was a great summary of what the guys have built, what we're trying to take forward, why people should trust us on this journey, as well as all the things that they already know us for.
I think that's a good ending point, Stu, really, for this one.
Mm.
I think, look, we want to do some more of these, I'm sure, in the future. Right, we've got Cosmos launching dates to be confirmed, but I think for today, I think as we close this out, again, thanks to all of us for contributing. I think it's a nice forum. We'll look to replicate this and look out for our next edition, which I imagine will come out in the new year, and we'll probably have a bit more depth into what Cosmos brings, and perhaps.
And all look like members of the Chuckle Brothers.
Well, that's exactly it. I was wondering whether yeah, this we might have to stick our QR code to get some more sponsorship for looking like fools for the past month. But again, all for a good cause, as they say. But no, good session, guys, and yeah, excited to see what Cosmos brings, because yeah, I think we all equally feel confident that it's going to make an impact to the customers that we own today, and the future ones that we will be going to target alongside our compatriots at IBM.